We all come from different walks of life, and we face many challenges in life. Whatever you may be going through right now, or whatever you have gone through, I need you to know that you are not alone. I'm Mildred Towns. Let's be real about real life issues. Hello and welcome to Let's Be Real About It, where we're real about real life issues. I'm your host, Mildred Towns. Our disclaimer is that this is a no holds barred zone. Therefore, some of the contents of the show may be offensive to some, but that is not the intent of the show. I'm excited about my guest tonight. As always, my guest today is Thomas Lee Price. So, Mr. Price, I want to welcome you to Let's Be Real About It.
Yes, ma'am. I'm glad to be here.
Amen. Glad for you to be here. And the title of the show tonight is Alcoholic Atheist to Born Again Believer. So that speaks volumes right there, going from an alcoholic atheist, going from an atheist to a born again believer. But I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Like she said, Thomas Lee Price. I go by Lee. I live in Brunswick, Georgia. Work at Visiting Angels, and I'm a consultant to the board at New Point Partnership Ministry.
All right. So getting into your story, you and your four siblings, y'all grew up poor. Your family lived in the ghetto. Your mom and dad divorced when you were 4 years old. Now, your mom met a man named Dick Ames, who was a biker, and he was with a bikers club or associated with a bikers club called Hell Angels. Talk about that.
Yeah, my mom met him when I was about 6 years old in Spokane, Washington. He was his name of his group was actually called the Uncouth, and his biker gang rode with the Hells Angels on occasion, and they were all about living the high life. They were partiers, and they were mixed up with gang fights, gun fights, things like that, and heavily drinkers. They drank all the time, and so a lot of the time they're partying right there at our house. But Dick partied there every night.
So Dick introduced your family to the idea of evolution, that there is no God. And I thought about this. So in saying that there's no God, so they just lived, as you said earlier, just any kind of way. So did they bring y'all into just living any kind of way? So I know that you said that he brought in the drugs and the alcohol with your family. Your family lifestyle became just like one big party 7 days a week, in the home. So talk about that. Talk about what it was like, being introduced to the evolution, and talk about the lifestyle of your family 7 days a week.
Yeah, he came in. There was 5 of us kids, and the oldest one was probably about 10. We were like only about a year apart, and so we really looked up to this guy. He was a great guy when he wasn't drinking. And so we respected him a lot. And so when he sat us down and looked at us in the eye and said, there's no such thing as God. We came from evolution. And when he spoke it, he was totally convinced, hook, line, and sinker. And because we believed him. Now, my mom had gone to Assemblies of God before she met him a couple of times. I can only remember going to church one time before he came around. And so that was the lifestyle they had, him and his gang. They brought in a lot of drinking, mostly alcohol, whiskey, liquor. And once they got drunk, there's no telling what they might do. And they introduced it to the rest of the family. So it became the norm. We just thought it was the norm normal way of life, no any other way of life growing up. And so we stayed in that environment until I was about 15.
So by the time you were 12 years old, uh, you were smoking, you were getting high. By the age of 14, you was having keg parties in the basement. Now,
Yeah.
what age group was coming to the keg party while the adults was upstairs having a party? Here you are, a youngster, you know, still in, well, by that time you was in middle school, still
Yeah, I
in
was in junior high.
junior
I was
high.
a 1970s hippie. Believe it or not, I had all my hair back then, long hair, full. They were all teenagers, anywhere from 14 up to about 18, 19. But most of them were from junior high or high school, and yeah, we did all the drugs and the smoking, the dope, and everything downstairs while they did their whiskey parties upstairs. And we didn't mingle a lot at that age, but later on, I started doing some heavier drugs. My older brother was sharing them and introducing me to them, and then I got it at school. And pretty soon, now we're doing drugs and alcohol. So, by the time I'm about 15, man, we're partying every day. I mean, it's. I dropped out of school in the ninth grade, in fact.
Because that's what I'm going to ask you. If y'all was partying like every day, how did you even function in school? And even how did even the other kids function in school? And where were their parents at that they were letting them come every night and party?
Oh well, we skipped school most of the time. Like we barely survived in school. Uh, I should say, the adults partied every day. We went to school, but we skipped a lot of school. The older I got, the more school I skipped, and then pretty soon just dropped out altogether. When I was 15, we actually moved from Spokane, Washington to Arkansas, and I never went back to school for about a year. I went back just to get my driver's license. And so I kind of went through half of the 10th grade.
So would you say that by the time that you were 14, that you were alcoholic and maybe your family was even an alcoholic? Did your mother drink a lot as well?
Yeah, she got into it pretty heavy, real heavy with Dick. They'd go to the bars and everything too as well. And they'd have parties in there. My mom would sing Harper Valley PTA, and she was a country singer, and they just kind of lived it up. Mm.
Okay. So she was saying Harper Valley PTA.
You ever heard that song?
I have. Yes, I have. So by the age of 22 years old, you was living in Florida.
Mhm.
You met a lady, you get married, and you move to Dallas, Texas. Um, so talk about when you get to Dallas, Texas, you get a job. Um, let me ask you this too. Was it like when you moved, were you escaping, trying to escape from the alcohol and drugs, and the alcohol and drugs followed you? Or what was that situation like?
Okay, well, by the time I was 22 in Florida, I'm in Florida now. Uh, you know, I'm drinking too much, but I keep a full time job all the time. I've never lived without a job. But in Florida, back in those days, you couldn't get a good paying job. We picked oranges. I worked in an orange plant. I drove tractors and put in irrigation, those kind of things. But I could see I had no future in Florida. So literally 2 weeks after I was married, I literally tore my wife's hands out of her family and moved to Texas, Bryan College Station, where my older brother Walt was there, promising me a job in the fence business. So literally 2 weeks after we got married, off we went.
So
So when
when
I
you
got there, They were partying. All the guys from Spokane, Washington were there, the older guys. And so the partying went to higher levels as far as alcohol goes. And a lot of doing bars and things after work. We were subcontractors.
Mhm.
And so, you might work till 2, 3 o'clock and hit the bar. 5 or 6 hours a day is about all you could get. And but most times they would pay me for the day. So I'd
Well,
go
that's a
home.
pretty good job. They pay you for the
Poor
day.
wife. Yeah, my poor wife was pregnant, and I'd leave her there, and it was just not good for her to have to live under them circumstances. I feel very, very much ashamed and regretful of what I put her through.
Wow. It's very rare that you hear, and which men do say it, women do say it, but to say, I'm sorry for what I put somebody through,
Yeah.
that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. So, I know you talked about your friends. Well, the people that you work with, they all was alcoholics too. So y'all went to the bars and y'all did all this stuff. Um, so you're saying that drugs and alcohol took over your life mainly. So talk about that.
Well, yeah, I guess it became the norm. We drank uh, pretty much every day. I mean, we started off with getting the beer after work, and then it evolved into putting some beer in a cooler and have it ready right after work. So as soon as we drove off, we could pull out a beer, and then it progressed into drinking right on the job. And in Texas, we built fence around oil wells, and this was in the 1980s, and we did very well. I mean, there was about 1,000, 1,200 feet around each one of them, and so we got really good at it. We got a system, and so that I started off getting paid by the hour for about 3 or 4 months, and I was literally going partners with another guy. I didn't get the job. My brother promised me, and by the time I got there, my other brother beat me to it and got the job. But I got a job from another guy, and we did well. But he was a real bar hopper. He drank a lot, and so I hung out with him. And I'd get home. By the time I got home at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, I was wiped out. Start again the next day. So it was became a lifestyle. It was just I was just uncontrollable to break free from it. I mean, it went on and on and on. And during that time of addiction, I didn't see. I never even imagined a life apart from drinking. It became all I lived for. It was Budweiser became my king. Uh, I would pay all the bills, put food on the table, and whatever was left, I'd drink it up. And so we was never able to save a lot. I had 4 sons, like I said, and they were cared for, but they didn't have the best that they could have had if I hadn't wasted all that money. And so during those times too, I had no idea what AA was, or that it was free. I thought it cost money. I heard of it, but I thought it cost money, like a rehab center. And so it was a journey. When I got a little older, I could see that I had the problem, but I didn't know how to get away from it. I tried and tried to break free. I tried to quit. My wife would leave me in 2 or 3 days, and I'd run her down and beg her to come back and promise to quit. It would last 2 or 3 days and back at it again. And so it was a stronghold on me that I just couldn't break on my own. I tried everything I could try. And I realized after a while that being an atheist, I was extremely insecure. I had really no purpose, no drive, no goals ahead of me except to make sure I got a beer in my refrigerator. Uh, and I believe the evolutionist theory. I had no identity. I had no purpose, and so deep inside, I was numb. I drank. I could see I drank to numb the ache that was formed in my heart from the lack of true meaning. There was no true meaning that I could grasp except the next drink. And so I was suffocating, and it became, after a while, I was a chronic alcoholic to the point where I had to drink 2 or 3 beers in the morning just to function, just to get my day started. And it became to the point I became miserable, downright disgusted, humiliated for the lack of control or anything. I mean, I did some pretty stupid things. I'm 5'8", but when I drank some whiskey, I felt like I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof, and did some pretty crazy things while I was drinking, and would regret it the next day, or I'd wake up the next day and somebody would tell me what I did, and it was not good.
So after a while, your wife and your children leave you, and they move away. So talk about what that was like for you.
Well, yeah. Like I said, I tried to break free from the alcohol several times. She would leave and go down to Florida. Her folks lived down there, like where we came from. And so I would drive down there in my 1-ton flatbed truck. I was a fence builder, so I had a 1-ton flatbed fence truck. And it's an old truck, but I could make it to Florida and back. And but after 10 years of marriage, she had it. Her family came down from out of town. We had a big party. It ended up in a big fight, and I kicked everybody out of the house, including her. And so I figured, okay, she'll go down the trailer park to a friend's house, spend the night there, come back the next morning, and everything would be okay. I would say my apologies, it'll never happen again, and life would go on. Well, this time, she did not come back. So I woke up, where's she at? Where's my kids? And a friend came and said, they are gone. And I was like, gone where? And I think they're going to Spokane, Washington, because it turned out that she had family there too. So, I mean, my heart dropped at that point. I've used the term, my world ended at that moment. It's hard to explain how much I truly, truly loved my wife and children, but I was still unable to break free from that addiction. And people, I've seen people saying AA and things that, you love the alcohol more than your family. It's not like that. I just couldn't break free, even though I wanted to. So when they left, I was a disaster. You talk about a chronic alcoholic before they left. I was even worse. I gave away all the furniture, washer and dryer, clothes, and my home was either in my truck, my friend's house, or my brother's couch. Wherever I passed out that day is where I ended up. So this went on and on and on. I would sit in my truck and listen to Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine, over, and that's back when they had the 8-track tapes.
Mm-hmm. That was a long time ago.
Back then when they had the cassettes, and I'd just sit in there and try to drink away my blues, and so stuck in self-pity, that demonic selfish, self-centered, poor me place and tried to drink away the pain. And of course, that just don't work.
It don't work. Trying to drink away the pain. So you are. So talk about what happened on Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, I guess it was about 7 months after she left. This went on, and Super Bowl Sunday, 1993. We had a big party at my best friend Doug's house. He was a fence builder, and evidently there was some scuffling going on. I heard about later because I couldn't remember everything, and there was a fight, and Doug had kicked his wife and kids out of the house, and he was almost beat her up. And there was another couple of guys at the Super Bowl party with us. One guy left, one guy passed out. And I guess at some point, it's still a hazy memory. Evidently, after the Super Bowl was over, me and another guy left and was headed to my brother's house in Austell, which is between Douglasville, Georgia, and Atlanta, Georgia. So Bankhead Highway goes parallel with I-20. So it's a highway, 55 mile an hour. So we left Doug's, and we were going around this long curve in that one-ton flatbed truck, 55 miles an hour, and we slammed head on with another car. Drinking and driving kills.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So what happened? Because we got a little bit of time left. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
In the other car, there in the front seat was two teenage sisters. The driver was 19 years old. She was 8 months pregnant. And the collision killed her and her baby like that, instantly. I mean, that one-ton truck we were in mangled. The other car was a small Chevy Citation. Her 18-year-old sister next to her in the front seat, she was also pregnant, about 2 months. And she was in a coma, I think 28 days. And then she too died, and her baby. In the back seat of the same car was a 38-year-old lady, kind of like a stepmother to the two sisters. It crushed every bone in her face. It broke an arm, shattered one of her legs, and she got brain damage. She survived barely. This woman was what they say drop dead gorgeous. She could have been a model. She was just beautiful. But after the crash, she had a lot of plastic surgeries. One leg ended up an inch or so shorter than the other, so she had to have special shoes. She lost her husband. She lost her job. She lost everything. She went into poverty, and she still suffers today.
Wow.
Next to her was a 4-year-old boy. He got a broken legs and broken fingers and cuts on his face from the glass, and he survived. But his mother was the driver. Next to him was like a 9 or 10 month old baby girl. She was strapped in a car seat that literally saved her life. Again, the car was mangled.
Mm.
The little girl got out of that car without a scratch. It was a miracle.
Mm.
So here the car is mangled. The driver and her baby are smashed. The other sister is knocked unconscious in a coma. The car catches on fire. The
Wow.
doors are jammed. And whoever was with me in my truck jumped out and ran. And of course, I didn't know anything about this. When I came to, I was in the hospital and surrounded by 5 or 6 police officers screaming at me, telling me I killed 5 or 6 people. I got a cut here. One of my eyes were shut. One of my legs was hurt, and some other bruises. But other than that, that's all that happened to me. I was handcuffed to the hospital bed, and they were screaming at me, threatening to punch me in the other eye, and 2 cops were arguing over which one wanted to shoot me. That's how outraged they were.
Oh, wow.
And reasonably so.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, I thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us. Y'all got to come back next week for part 2 and find out how crazy his court proceedings were. So y'all got to come back and hear part 2, all the crazy stuff that he went through, drinking and driving, to find out that he wasn't even the one that was driving the truck. But, he didn't know that, so y'all please come back next week. And let's tell them how they can contact you.
You can contact me at coachinjesus@gmail.com. It's right there on the screen.
All right. I want y'all to please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Let's Be Real with Mildred Towns. If Let's Be Real has been a blessing to you, please consider sending a love gift to $Mildred Towns. If it's been a blessing, please, $Mildred Towns. And you can also order my book, Truth, My Closet Secrets Revealed, and my brochure, A Cry from the Womb. And you can email me at ihurtministries@gmail.com or give me a call at 757-776-2987. And if you would like to be a guest on the show and tell your story, please contact me at 757-776-2987 or email me again at ihurtministries. And special thanks to all of those who watch the show nationally and internationally. Thank you so much for watching the show. And until next week, let the peace of God reign, rule, and abide in your hearts. I'm Mildred Towns. Thank you for watching.
What up, y'all? It's your boy back on stage. We here at J&K Style and Grill with my main man.
J&K Style Grill, home of the original waffle burger, stuffed wings, and Philly steak egg roll.
The food was amazing, man. I'm talking about collard green stuffed chicken, mac and cheese stuffed chicken, waffle burger with the special sauce.
With the special sauce.
Come on, man. What are you doing if you ain't eating here? You're wasting your life.
Pull up.
J&K Style Grill, you can copy the style.
But never the best.
We got it.
We got
Hey.
it.